Quick recap: in the last episode, Will finally proved his worth before the entire tower by awakening Prime Pathos. During Zio's intense test, Will survived a devastating thunder spell by priming the attack itself, earning the respect of everyone present. Impressed by this feat, Zio publicly acknowledged Will's strength, and even Kreutz was forced to recognize him as worthy of the tower. But just as Will was about to join Alfaria's ice faction, Zio suddenly stepped in and claimed him for the thunder faction, leaving Alfaria shocked. Hearing this, Alfaria shouts, "Read the room, Zio. Are you an idiot? A pea-brained, witless, man-stealing thief? I ought to freeze you to death, you heretic criminal." Seeing the situation escalate, Will quickly tried to calm her down. "Elfie, calm down." He then turns toward Zio and says, "Sir, please let me go. I appreciate the sentiment, but I'm going with L." Before Will could even finish his sentence, Zio suddenly shocked him with a burst of lightning. The attack left Will's face completely pale as Zio casually remarked, "Will, what was that? You wanna join the Thunder faction? Well, I guess that settles it." That was the final straw for Alfaria. She immediately rushed toward them, shouting, "I've had enough of your antics. Give him back." Watching the chaos unfold from the stands, Colette looked on in confusion. "What's going on down there? What's happening?" Rose calmly answered, "Looks like Will's being headhunted." Colette's eyes widened. "Rose, is he really? Then maybe the Earth faction should get in on it too. You saw how powerful Will is. Having him would be good for the faction." She then quickly added, "And I promise it's not because I want to be close to him in the tower." The scene then shifted back to the arena, where Alfaria and Zio stood face to face. "Why are you doing this, Zio?" Alfaria demanded. "If you really wanted Will, you would have scouted him from the beginning." Holding Will firmly by the head, Zio simply shrugged. "I didn't want him then. Now I do. Simple as that." Hearing this only made Alfaria even angrier, her expression darkening with every word. Zio continued, "You don't put chains on desire. That's one of the little maxims I live by. Riches, drink, women, men, whatever I want, I take. That's what I do." Witnessing Zio's behavior, everyone watching could only think the same thing. He is an absolute savage. Meanwhile, Guilford couldn't help but comment, "You truly are a paragon of logic and reason, great mage." Alfaria immediately fired back, "Forgive me, O great mage of logic." Her expression then turned deadly serious as she declared, "But I have no intention of letting anyone take Will away from me, and I will annihilate anyone who dares." Zio burst into laughter. "Ha! You talk a tough game, Icewitch." He then pointed at her and challenged, "Come on, let's go. You and me. Winner gets Will. Sound good?" Without a moment's hesitation, Alfaria accepted. "Sounds perfect." Before the situation could spiral further, Claire stepped in and protested. "Nah. I'm not letting two Magia Wunder duke it out over a boy. Knock it off, both of you." But Carriot seemed far less concerned. "Why even try to stop these hotheads? Any intervention on our part would only drag out this already protracted charade." Not to be outdone, Elif Kanan added, "Let the sloth and the savage kill each other. Their absence would only do us good." The scene then shifted as Alfaria gently picked up Will and carried him over to Sarissa. "Sarissa, take care of Will." Handing him over, she turned back toward the arena and immediately began gathering an enormous amount of magical power around her. As the tension in the arena reached its peak, a familiar voice suddenly echoed throughout the stadium. "Wait a second, are you being serious? Are two of the strongest wizards in the world really going to fight over a boy?" The voice belonged to Finn. "Well, what can you do? The Magia Wunder are free to act however they want." Moments later, Alfaria and Zio stood facing each other in the center of the arena. Alfaria coldly asked, "What's the signal to start?" Zio smirked in response, "We don't need one. We've already begun." Just as Alfaria and Zio were about to begin their battle, the scene briefly shifted to Will. Nearby, Julius was desperately trying to wake him up. "Hey, open your eyes, idiot. Come on, Will, wake." Before he could finish his sentence, Julius suddenly stopped. A tremendous surge of magical power washed across the arena, instantly drawing everyone's attention. The scene then returned to Alfaria, who calmly raised her wand and began chanting. El Glace Frost. Despite the overwhelming magic gathering around her, Zio didn't look concerned in the slightest. Instead, he simply stood there with a grin on his face, eagerly awaiting what was coming next. Alfaria continued her incantation. L7 Fluzal Caldinia. In an instant, an enormous ice castle erupted from the center of the arena. Towering walls of crystal blue ice stretched into the sky, transforming the battlefield into a frozen kingdom. Watching the spectacle unfold, Colette exclaimed, "There they go." Wignall, meanwhile, immediately recognized. "She's casting the big spells right out of the gate." Just as Alfaria prepared to launch an attack, Zio suddenly vanished. Before Alfaria could react, he appeared directly behind her and says, "Thundering Howl." In the next instant, Zio unleashed a point-blank energy blast that shattered the massive ice castle into fragments. Watching from the sidelines, Julius' eyes widened in panic. "Great Mage Alfaria." However, Zio merely smirked. He already knew that an attack like that wasn't enough to defeat her. Moments later, the scene shifted to reveal Zio standing in the middle of the arena, completely surrounded by multiple Alfaria clones. Shocked, Julius says, "Ours wise clones? When did she?" Sarissa calmly explained. She summoned them after blocking his view with the Cathedral of Ice. In truth, all she needed was a split second. Alfaria is the fastest caster in the tower. She then added, though she's not just known for her speed, but also for her ruthlessness toward her enemies. "Will is mine," Alfaria declared before chanting, "Almenta Orliscas." Instantly, countless magic circles appeared throughout the arena as every clone joined the assault. A relentless barrage of ice magic rained down upon Zio from all directions. Sion could hardly believe what he was seeing. She just cast a high-grade ice barrage without an incantation. That spell normally requires an entire chant to cast. Julius was equally shocked. "It took everything I had to cast that spell on the 11th floor, and all she did was speak it into existence." He stared at the battlefield in disbelief. "I don't get it. How can she be so powerful?" Yet Alfaria wasn't finished. Without giving Zio a moment to breathe, she unleashed another spell. Rivil Calantibium Stellas Natia. Smiling as he watched the destruction unfold, Carriot commented, "A bombardment of crystalline ice on top of the clones she's already summoned. Alfaria is pulling out all the stops today." Logwell then added, "Her icicles aren't just powerful, they're swift and incredibly accurate. In a long-range battle, the Ice Maiden has the upper hand." Finn, however, offered a reminder. "Don't forget, there's another beast in the cage with her." As if to prove his point, Zio suddenly burst free from the mountain of ice surrounding him. Wearing a grin, he asked, "Is that it?" The sight clearly irritated Alfaria. Before she could react, Zio flashed across the battlefield and appeared right beside her, reaching for her head. Volgan Float. A single strike erupted outward, instantly obliterating every clone in the arena. Then he charged forward. "What's the matter, Ice Witch? Don't tell me that's all you've got." Closing the distance in an instant, he continued, "No clones left to take hits for you now." Alfaria attempted a close-range counterattack with her wand, but Zio easily blocked it. Jalja Saga. He drove a powerful punch forward, only to realize too late that the Alfaria before him was another clone. At that moment, Zio looked upward. The real Alfaria had been above him the entire time. From the stands, Ceridwen explained what had happened. Every exchange up until now has been a ploy to buy time. She used the clones to distract him while escaping overhead and preparing a final assault. She continued. She even cast hide on herself to circumvent any search spells. While the others watched with excitement, Eleanor remained unusually quiet, her expression far more serious than everyone else's. High above the arena, Alfaria looked down at Zio and asked, "How is it down there? Having fun playing with my toys?" She then activated another spell. Clone Chain, Full Connect. Zio couldn't help but grin. Well played. But Alfaria had already begun her final incantation. Grand Explosion Doozery. In an instant, the entire arena was engulfed in a colossal eruption of ice. The attack was so overwhelmingly powerful that its shockwave reached the spectator stands. As frozen debris and magical energy surged toward the audience, one of the wizards immediately deployed a barrier, protecting Colette, Rose, and everyone else from the devastating blast. Watching the battlefield, Colette's eyes widened in amazement. Wow, a chain circle. Rose nodded as she analyzed the spell. She leveraged her clones to amplify the potency of an even stronger spell. I doubt even a Magia Wanda could have survived that. However, a familiar voice emerged from within the frozen devastation. Not really. As the dust and ice cleared, Zio stepped forward completely unfazed. Fooling around with dolls just doesn't cut it for me. A terrifying amount of magical energy began surging from his body, causing even Alfaria to tense up slightly. Before she could react, Zio casually raised the wand behind his back and launched a lightning-fast attack. I wanna play with the real thing. A bolt of lightning shot past Alfaria in an instant. Before she could even process what had happened, Zio's voice echoed beside her. Over here. As Alfaria was about to turn her head, Zio's fist slammed directly into her while saying down you go, sending her crashing toward the ground. As she struggled to regain her footing, Zio appeared behind her once again. Another devastating punch connected. This time, the impact launched Alfaria high into the sky. Blood escaped from the corner of her mouth as she was blasted through the massive ice structures she had created herself. Watching from below, Sarissa cried out in alarm. Alfaria! Hearing that only seemed to excite Zio further. A sphere of crackling energy gathered around him as he prepared yet another attack. The boy is mine! With that declaration, he fired the massive energy sphere directly toward Alfaria. Watching the battle unfold, Colette tried to understand what she was seeing. I don't understand. All of his attacks so far have been close range. He's not fighting like a wizard at all. Is he a knight enchanter like Lihanna? Lihanna immediately shook her head. No. From what I can see, all he's doing is releasing raw magical energy. Hearing her observation, Guilford remarked. Very astute. Watch closely, Miss Owensors. That is the pinnacle of what we in the Thunder faction live by. He continued. Great Mage Zio doesn't rely on complicated magic. He merely lets the energy flow from him, leaving everything else behind. To him, it is nothing more than a form of movement. As Zio continued overwhelming Alfaria with pure force, Guilford explained further. It is a technique that inspires dread in all who witness it, Wrathbolt. Logwell says. Zio's Wrathbolt may be the only thing that can outpace the Ice Maiden's casting speed. Even Kreutz, who rarely praised anyone, couldn't hide his frustration. He is endowed with a power that defies logic. It is absolutely monstrous. Zio's immeasurable might is the bane of my existence. Meanwhile, Scion watched the battle in complete disbelief. Zio Thorzeus Rainbolt is showing us exactly why he became a Magia Wanda. And how he earned the title of Thorzeus Fass, the Wand of Thunder. As the battle raged, we see Alfaria and Zio in arena, and Ceridwen asks Finn with a curious smile. According to you, who will emerge victorious? Finn answered without a moment's hesitation. Zio. He then explains. Alfaria created 13 spells entirely on her own. There's no denying that she's a Magia spellwork. But Zio, he is the king of praxis. Finn continued. His second only to Aaron in dungeon progression, having reached the 48th floor by himself. His mastery of applying magic in actual combat is irrefutable. After a brief pause, he added. I'd even say the man is as much a sword as he is a wand. If I'm being honest, the boy would be better served under Zio's guidance than under the Ice Maiden. Elsewhere in the stands, Carriot had reached a similar conclusion. If this were a long-range battle, she might have a chance. But as long as Zio keeps things close, he'll dominate her. Watching the fight unfold, he nodded confidently. I think we have our victor. As those words were spoken, the camera briefly focused on the members of the elf faction, many of whom looked visibly dissatisfied. Among them, Eleanor's expression was particularly sour. Noticing this, Filvis couldn't resist teasing her. Our great mage seems rather disconsolate. Why do you suppose that is, Lefia? Lefia answered immediately. It's simple, Filvis. Eleanor once lost to Alfaria in a contest of ice magic. She continued with a mischievous smile. As much as she hates to see the Ice Maiden win, she doesn't want her to lose either. Then she summarized the situation perfectly. In a few words, she's stuck between a glacier and a hard place. Hearing that, Eleanor's irritation instantly boiled over. Who said either of you could talk? Moments later, the scene returned to the battlefield. A massive impact suddenly shook the spectator area. It wasn't an attack aimed at the stands, it was Alfaria herself, having been blasted across the arena by one of Zio's attacks. As she struggled to stand, the extent of her injuries became clear. Bruises covered her body, and she could barely maintain her footing. Seeing her condition, Sarissa called out anxiously, "Alfaria!" Nearby, Julius continued desperately trying to wake Will. "Come on, Will! Wake up, you idiot!" Grabbing him by the shoulders, Julius shouted again, "Are you really just going to lie here while Alfaria loses to that madman?" He clenched his fists. "You're the only one who can give her the push she needs to pull through." Yet no matter how many times Julius called out to him, Will remained unconscious. Back in the arena, Zio slowly walked toward the battered Ice Maiden with complete confidence. "All out of tricks." He smirked. "Then I guess it's time to take my prize." But the moment those words left his mouth, a powerful blast of magic suddenly surged toward him. Zio blocked the attack and remained standing proudly at the center of the arena. However, when the dust settled, something unexpected caught everyone's attention. A thin cut had appeared across Zio's face. For the first time, the spectators looked genuinely surprised. Guilford's eyes widened. Sarissa stared in disbelief. Even Eleanor looked shocked. Watching the scene unfold, Ceridwen smiled. "Looks to me like she's still in the running, Finn." Then she glanced toward the injured Alfaria and added, "You see, Alfaria is just as tenacious as Will." After standing on her feet, Alfaria glares directly at Zio and declares, "You're not taking anything. Will is not yours to take." Hearing such determination from Alfaria, Zio can't help but laugh in excitement. "And says the ice which lives. And even feistier than ever." He admits that he has never seen Alfaria this fired up before and asks what could possibly be responsible for such a dramatic transformation. Alfaria gives an answer that leaves everyone speechless. With tears beginning to form in her eyes, she says a single word: "Love." She explains that Will has risked his life countless times to protect her. He worked tirelessly, climbed all the way to the tower, and never once abandoned the promise he made to her. Now that Will has finally reached her side, she believes it is her turn to fight for him. Alfaria passionately declares, "My love for him will see me victorious over anyone who stands in my way." Even Zio is caught off guard by the intensity of her feelings. Then, with a grin spreading across his face, he says, "So that's it, huh? You desire him."